Welcome to Know Your Right, a show that seeks to look at the Zimbabwean Constitution as well as the Bill of Rights. My name is Brighton Ncube. This is Asake Online. This week on the show, we're going to look at the constitutional amendment provisions, public hearings that were held in Bulawayo over the past few weeks, and we'll review those provisions as I'm joined by Nare from WILD. She is the local officer for WILD. Mosu, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brighton, for having me.
Right. So, over the past few weeks, we saw public hearings going on in Bulawayo. The constitutional amendments, public hearings going in Bulawayo. Why are we amending the constitution before we align the laws to the constitution?
Okay, I actually attended the public hearings that we held in Bulawayo on Wednesday. And what happened was that they were taking in batches of 50 people, which is in line with the COVID-19 social distancing guidelines. But what we saw was that at the venue, I think more than 400 people came there. So it was actually, they were rushing through the whole process so that they were able to accommodate all the groups. So I can't really say that people were able to say out their views because they will actually pick up a number of people and then they say, this is the time that we have for this batch. Then everyone else was not able to get an opportunity to submit their views on the amendment bill.
So in your view, why are we amending the constitution during COVID-19? 50 people being allowed to partake, so each batch had 50 people for 30 minutes. We are amending the constitution during COVID-19.
Okay, when the parliament actually announced that they were going to go ahead with the public hearings, many civil society organizations actually rose up and said, we need time because right now it's actually not the right time for us to actually gather people and say that we are going to have hearings because one, you see that people are not allowed to have large gatherings. So if you are limiting the whole process to 50 people, you are limiting the whole process to 100 people. I mean, there are so many people in Zimbabwe. We can't say that everyone was able to get an opportunity to give in their views. And also looking at the current situation, people are not able to easily travel. When you are getting into town, you are asked, what business do you have in town? Do you have a letter to show that actually you have serious business that deems you necessary to get into town? But in the midst of all that, we see Parliament saying we are going to have public hearings. Civil society organizations tried to say that, no, we need time so that we also are able to conscientize people, so that we are able to engage people and actually educate them on what's in the bill. But then, unfortunately, Parliament didn't listen to what people said. They said they were going on with the public hearings. They said they are putting in measures in place so that social distancing is observed. People are sanitized upon entrance into the venues, and also people are being checked temperatures. But even though they took such measures, I feel like the process could have waited until things have normalized, because you see that there's a lot of activities that could be happening, but they've been put on hold for the sake of that it's not yet conducive to be having these gatherings. People are not yet in that space to say that we are focusing on big issues such as amending the constitution at a time as this one. People are still focusing on other issues. The COVID-19, you see, it has impact on people's livelihoods. It has impacts on so many things. Right now was not the right time to say we are having public hearings because citizens were not able to fully come in their numbers. And also the whole process, it was not really conducive. I saw some people, they ended up leaving because it was getting late. Nowadays, you see that there are actually transport problems. You get into town, you have to queue for up to 2 hours before you can board a bus. So all these factors, they actually limited the participation in attendance of people in the public hearing.
So when this constitution was written in 2013, the parliamentary, the COPAC, they went far and wide to consult people about what can be added in the constitution. Yes. But now, during the public hearings and amendments of the constitution, we're given limited time, 30 minutes per session for people to air out their views about the amendments.
Yes.
Do you think people got enough time to air their views? Some were saying, why did they come to the suburbs, to Pansema Lokshi? They came to town.
Yes.
But this is a constitution of Zimbabwe talking about.
Exactly.
Do you think people got enough time to talk about the amendments of the constitution?
Okay, like what you are saying, that when this current constitution was actually drafted, it actually took a process of up to 5 years. People were consulted far and wide, even in the rural areas. I know the COPAC group actually went there to solicit views from people to say, what do you think? We want a new constitution. Mind you, a constitution is the highest law in the land, which means that when something is in the constitution, it binds all and everyone in this country. So now when we have a constitution, it means that it's the supreme law. Everyone has to be in agreement to say that, okay, this is the book that we are actually adopting as a country to apply to our everyday lives, to apply to how government runs its things, to apply to every sector and organ of state. So now I feel like that for starters, the constitution is 7 years old. And already we had an amendment in 2017 of this same constitution. We are saying that in just 7 years, we can't say that we have already noticed that there are problems with the constitution, that there are actually provisions that we are not agreeable with. 94.5% of Zimbabweans voted in a referendum in 2013 and said, we are adopting this constitution. And from what I've read in this amendment bill, I could tell you that I don't think it's in good faith to amend it right now. So much is being done to actually dismantle the work that was done for this constitution, because the current constitution focuses on promoting democracy. It focuses on decongesting power from the one-party model that we used to have, whereby everything is done at the executive, whereby everything is from the office of the president. The current constitution was decongesting all that, putting up various commissions and bodies that are going to be responsible for a number of things. But now we are amending a constitution, actually making a U-turn on all the gains that were made in 2013. We are actually reverting to the pre-constitution era of 2013, whereby we saw that democracy was not the norm in Zimbabwe. So I feel like right now, people were not given enough time to actually come up and say, we are for the amendment or we are against the amendment. Little time was given, and to tell you that the consultation that was done for 5 years to come with the constitution, then now you are given 30 minutes to express your views, and of which they were actually taking maybe one view per person, and maybe per session that's 20 people. So if you have 20 people, maybe for the whole of Bulawayo, they gave an opportunity for about 100 people to voice out what they think about the constitution. So really, I can't say that the public hearings were effective in any way. I feel like it was a process of just ticking the boxes and saying we held public hearings, but really, in terms of soliciting public views, I don't think justice was done.
But also someone can say this is a people-driven constitution.
Yes.
But now when it comes to the amendments as well as the public hearings, we see less of being people-driven in the public hearings. One of the topical arguments and debates that people having in public hearings, the issue of the running mates.
Okay.
So what can you say was your biggest take in these public hearings?
Okay. During the public hearings, in the session that I actually got in, people were actually unanimously rejecting the amendment of the constitution to remove the running mates concept. Because when it comes to the running mates concept, it's a concept that was meant to come into operation with the elections, the 2023 elections. It hasn't yet been tested in Zimbabwe. It was still a new concept that we are saying we are going to apply in 2023. But already now the amendment bill, it tells us that no, we are now reverting back to the situation that we have always been adhering to, whereby we elect a president, then he appoints 2 VPs who are serving at his discretion or at his pleasure. So what I think when it comes to the Constitution of 2013, I feel like this is a document that was meant to promote public participation, to say that the electorate should actually be involved in making these decisions. For us to have a president and vice presidents that are actually appointed by the people, it means that there is citizen participation, there is democracy. The electorate gets to say how they want their country to be run, who they want to run their country. So now when we're actually saying that, no, we are already making a U-turn, we no longer want to do this, when we haven't even tested it, for me, it doesn't make sense. Because I feel like there is a reason why, in the first place, this was actually included in the Constitution of 2013. So at the public hearings, people actually said, no, we cannot be amending the Constitution when we haven't even tried and tested these provisions. How about we first try the running mates concept and see where it takes us before we start amending? what we have to focus on right now is implementation of the constitution before we talk about amending it.
I saw a tweet on, I think it was on Monday, in Plumtree participants rejected they asked to be addressed in their local languages.
Okay.
Did you face any challenges in Bulawayo around those areas?
Okay, the public hearings in Bulawayo, they're actually being chaired by the chairperson of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Legal Justice and Parliamentary Affairs, who actually clarified before the meeting started that everyone was free to express their views in their own language. So of which I felt like everyone was able to say out their views, be it in English, be it in Ndebele, be it in Shona. Everyone was just free to air out their views in the language of their choice.
Right. So why are we amending the constitution before aligning the laws?
Okay, I cannot really say that I have a definite answer for that because it is not us who are amending the constitution. Somehow cabinet felt like, okay, it's okay to give a green light to amending the constitution. For me, my view is that this is actually a political move which is focused on consolidating executive powers. Already when you look at most of these amendments, you will see that they are meant to consolidate the power of the office of the president. You have a president who has the power to appoint the prosecutor general, who has the power to appoint the public protector, who has the power to appoint additional non-parliamentary ministers, who has the power to promote judges and actually determine their tenure in office. So I feel like this move is just meant to congest power in the office of the president, whereby we are going back to a one-center power model, which was actually what the 2013 constitution was advocating against. But I feel like this constitution is actually making inroads into the gains that were made by the 2013 constitution. And most of the provisions, they're actually retrogressive. They are taking us back to where we were before the constitution came into operation.
Let's look at the women in quota system. As you're coming from an institution which focuses on women, do you think affirmative action is the way for us to achieve gender equality?
Okay, as Women's Institute for Leadership Development, we are all about empowering women, women's participation, of which if you go into the constitution, the current constitution, you have section 17, which talks about gender balance. You have section 85, which talks about the rights of women. All these sections, if you read into them, they talk about that the state must take action to ensure that there is equal participation of both men and women in all sectors and in all organs of state. So I feel like that work could have been done to ensure that these provisions that are in the constitution, they are actually implemented. Yes, some may say it's a good thing to actually extend the women's PR with another 10 years, but if you go on the ground, many will tell you that it hasn't really been effective in promoting women's participation. It sounds more like tokenism, that for a long time women have been saying, we want 50-50, we want to be equal with men, we want to be in position of leadership. Then suddenly they said, okay, here is 60 seats for you. But are women being prepared enough to be able to actually take up leadership position when they get into those seats? Or they are just there to say, okay, we have ticked the boxes, we have given them what they have been wanting for a long time. Right now, what we are saying is that, okay, the PR can be extended, but it's no guarantee that women will actually actively participate because of it. They still need to ensure that actually the provisions that are in the current constitution that talks of gender balance in all sectors, in all organizations, should actually be implemented before we just talk about moves that don't really make any change or that don't even contribute to say that we can say positively women are empowered, women are making changes. Let's focus on saying that Section 17 talks about gender balance. Can we have gender balance? Because as you know right now, the parliament is 270 seats, but just saying 60 seats is for women, it doesn't really mean that there is gender balance. So there's still a lot that needs to be done to ensure that the current provisions, they're actually being implemented.
Now, during the public hearings in Bulawayo, let's talk about the women's participation and also the attendance.
Okay.
Did women participate? Did they attend public hearings in Malawi?
Yeah, I think you could agree with me that women, they actually have a good culture of saying if there's a meeting, you see that there's actually more women who attend. So this was the same scenario in the public hearings. Many women came out in their numbers. Even as Women's Institute for Leadership Development, we actually mobilized women to say, let's go and have our say, let's go and participate in these public hearings. So I can say that actually women came out in their numbers, and they didn't just come out in their numbers. Even inside the venue, they were able to actually participate and air out their views concerning the proposed amendments.
One of the most controversial provisions in the constitution, this one, 10 seats for the youths.
Okay.
It sparked debate during the public hearings. Youths were complaining 10 seats. Why 10 seats? Where the majority in Zimbabwe are given 10 seats in parliament. Care to comment on that?
Okay. The constitution, I think in section 20, it speaks about promoting of youth participation in the country. So, well, I feel like it's affirmative action to say we are giving youth 10 seats, but like what you are saying, that they are saying those seats are not enough, considering that there's more than 60% of youths in Zimbabwe. But I could say that for a start, maybe it is indeed something. But what can be done now is that already the party lists, when they are submitting their candidates during an election, they should actually be made to say that they are reserving a number of seats for the youths before we even get to the 10 seats. When a particular party is submitting their candidates, they should actually be compelled to say this number of seats we are reserving it for the youths. That will actually that will actually contribute to saying that more youths are given an opportunity, because 10 youths, really, that's one youth per province. And I don't think that just one youth in a province can actually make that much of a difference. So political parties, when they're actually submitting the list for their candidates, they should be compelled to say this number of seats, we are reserving them for the youths, so that they can actually be seen to be really participating.
So as we wrap up our conversation, what's in your heart when it comes to the Zimbabwean constitution?
Okay, the Zimbabwean constitution, when I look into the Zimbabwean constitution, it is a democratic document. It promotes the rule of law in the country, with courts that are guided by people who are chosen through public consultations, through public participation in public interviews. So what I think is that it is a good document. It's progressive, it promotes democracy, it promotes citizen participation. And right now, really, it's not the right time to be amending the constitution. It's just 7 years since we have had this constitution, and I don't think anything has changed that is warranting us to think of amending it. It is a good document that if it is really implemented and all the laws in the country are aligned to it, it will actually promote better governance for the country.
Okay, Mosu, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Brighton, for having me.
You've been watching You Know You're Right. I was joined by Nare from Wild. She's the legal officer for Women's Institute for Leadership and Development. We're just discussing the constitutional amendment provisions and reviewing the public hearings that were held in Malawi over the past few weeks. Do enjoy the show, and do follow us on Twitter at SakeZW. Do follow them on Twitter at Wild Zim Trust, and do follow me on Twitter at The Whole Effect. Till next time, #Asake.